Hello everyone. Welcome back to Miss Recaps. Today I'm going to explain a Thai comedy drama film called Sompoy, Get Him Girl, which is about one gangster girl who lives in one traditional community. It means most of the people there are well behaved like the traditional people. Except, there is only one young lady named Sompoy who is always drinking alcohol, fighting with others like a real gangster. The story is so hilarious and you might like it. So, let's get started. That story begins with the beautiful view of one village that full of gentle and well-behaved people. For the women, they wear traditional clothes with traditional skirt and decorate themselves with gorgeous golden hairpins on their head. However, among all the ladies there is one young lady named Sompoy, is so famous in drinking beer in the village and fighting with other. So, after Sompoy was getting wet after children in the village threw water to her, she came back home. When she arrived home, her mom asked her to change her clothes and doing makeup in order to join her aunt's event. So, she has dressed up very suitably and joining the event. At that moment, she has seen her female cousin named Priya. Priya, who is the good-behaved young lady that will leave from this village to go pursue her studying at Bangkok. Which all of those things make Sompoy was so jealous of her. And Sompoy has a purpose to have a husband who is from Bangkok city so she can leave from this village after marriage because she was so stressed and boring about living in her village's environment. After that the night came, she met her friend and her friend called her to meet one young man who was working at Bangkok city for dating. But that man was so silly, drunk, and the way he wooed Sompoy is kinda awkward to her. And Sompoy did not want to marry that guy, then leaving that place disappointedly. And after that she went to meet another friend named Chia Vive who had one foreigner husband named Michael. Then she wanted to ask for advice from her friend. And Chia Vive, after hearing this, she got an idea to help her find a husband by bringing her to meet the love guru to curse love spells. Next day, Mrs. Vaya brought her to meet one love guru named Pomon. This man is so popular with superstitions in the village. When Sompoy had just seen his face, suddenly she fell in love with the handsomeness of this young guru, because he looked so young and handsome with a beautiful face. Then Mrs. Vive asked the guru that, is she able to marry a man in Bangkok or not? He replied loudly that cannot, and she will face danger karmic more because her ancestors' spirit will harm her, because she peed on her ancestors' tombs when she was a kid. So, her ancestors will abuse her as a lesson. And in order to solve this ghost's curse, she has to wear traditional clothes for 3 months, like wearing a traditional skirt and hairpins. She started to feel pressured after hearing this, but she didn't have any choices. She decided to follow the advice of the love guru. The next morning came, she bought traditional clothes, made up as the gentle lady and became one beautiful and well-behaved lady. At that moment her mom called her and she replied back with a very soft and gentle voice that she has never talked like this before. But her mom screamed at her that she took so long to reply back. Just answer, no time to do anything else anymore. Then she left her mom. At night, she got drunk again as it was her habit already and she needed to drive back home alone. Unfortunately, she got into a traffic accident because she could not control herself while driving in intense drunkenness. But accidentally, there was another one handsome man named Van, who was driving from Thebe City along the same route here. Then he picked up his phone call from his mom while driving. Suddenly, he drove the car and hit one lady, Sompoy, who had just woken up and started to walk across the road. After the accident happened, he went to see that lady. But he saw Sompoy looked like a zombie with a bleeding head. After he saw this, he decided to drive her to the hospital. In the car, Sompoy denied that she didn't have a bleeding head. That red blood on her head was just fake blood and she told him to bring herself back home instead. But the way back to her home that she had told him was like a mess by asking him to turn left and right and left and go straight all the way round. For the whole night, they could not find the way back home because they were driving around the village again and again. And at the end, Van decided to bring her to the village chief's house. In the morning, the village chief announced on the microphone to ask for her mother to bring Sompoy, who had slept in his house last night, to go back home. Later on, Sompoy and her friends went to the pagoda to make incense and pray to meet a fated lover from Buddha. After she prayed already, suddenly she saw Van was standing in front of her. And after she saw this handsome man, she was so excited until she fainted. But when she woke up, she asked her friends, "Where is Van?" And they said Van was taking photos outside. When she heard that she dressed up in traditional clothes to look like a traditional woman, and walked like a softened lady to attract Mr. Van, then she acted like she was falling down and wanted him to save her like the way a beautiful girl was saved by a handsome man. But the way she screamed to ask someone to help was so fake and weird that everyone surprisingly thought that she was crazy, and her two friends there brought her up and left her. So, she could not woo Mr. Van at this place anymore. Later on, her friend Vive has an idea that suggests her friend to act as a gentle lady. Then she brings her friend to meet the gentlest and well-behaved lady in the village named Koatok. She talked very slowly in a soft way like the way traditional ladies behaved in the ancient time. When Sompoy listened to the way this gentle lady spoke extremely slowly, she was so pressured. Because Sompoy always speaks whatever in the way she wants to. But they didn't have choices to choose. Sompoy decided to learn the way to live as a gentle lady following Koatok in order to woo Mr. Van. The mother of Koatok was more gentle and more traditional than Koatok. She talked very slower than her daughter, and after seeing this, Sompoy and her friends cannot accept the very slow motion of their behaviors. Sompoy decided to go back home. Then she went to the house of the love guru. Surprisingly, she saw he was drinking beers and laughing, and realized that he did not have magic or spirituality like the way all the villagers respect and believe in. Then Sompoy asked him to give back all her money that she had spent on fortune telling. In contrast, he didn't give back the money. Instead, he made a joke of her that she was a gangster lady and now changed to wear traditional clothes following his scamming advice. And he locked the gate. Sompoy had to leap this fence in order to go home while her skirt was torn. When she arrived home, she told her friends about the cheating magical guru, and they were trying to find ways to get him back. Sitting in her room, she was checking her Facebook and luckily found the Facebook page of Van that he uses to post all the photos he took here. And it is at the right time that Mr. Van was broadcasting his live video that his car was broken. While she was watching the video, she saw Fomon, Sab as his nickname, the fake guru, was helping Van to fix the car. Later on, Sab brought Van to stay in one hotel. Because Sompoy really wanted to know which hotel that Van was going to stay at, she decided to ask Sab to tell her about this thing. She discussed this with her friends. At night, Sompoy sneaked into Pomon, Love Guru's house in order to investigate him and took some pictures of him while he was naked, changing clothes. Because he used a lot of body powder, it caused Sompoy to sneeze because of the strong smell of powder that he used. And Pomon suddenly realized that Sompoy was hiding in his house and Sompoy was arguing with him. While arguing with each other, Pomon accidentally split his tongue to tell the truth that he was scamming villagers a long time ago. But he didn't realize that it is the trick of Sompoy and her friends to let him reveal the truth by himself. They were taking video of all the activities and recording the conversation between him and Sompoy to show to all the villagers, to know how he scammed them. After he saw they were taking videos, he tried to get the phones that were recording, but Sompoy kicked him off and threatened him to tell which hotel that Van was staying, otherwise they will reveal the video publicly to let other people know the truth. With nothing to choose, the fake guru decided to tell her the location of Van. The next morning, Sompoy was so happy to go to find Mr. Van followed the location that the fake guru told her. When she arrived at that hotel, she met one hotel receptionist who was dancing in front of her camera for posting in TikTok and didn't really care about Sompoy. Until she finished dancing, the hotel staff asked Sompoy what she needed. Sompoy asked the staff about the place that Van was living, and she replied that Van was taking photos at the waterfront. After hearing this, Sompoy rushed to drive to the waterfront to meet Van. When she arrived there, she was delighted to see Van was there. And she was acting like she was a really gentle lady to impress Van. And she started to recite poems, and when Van heard the sound, he took a look at her. When she realized Van looked at her, she acted as if she was shocked to see him. Act like she doesn't know he was here, but actually it was the plan that she wants to meet him. She tried to get closer to him and sometimes touched him while Van was taking photos. Unfortunately, the fake guru ruins the time that they stayed near each other. The fake guru called them loudly from the mountain and insulted Sompoy that she suddenly changed herself by dressing up like a good gentle girl. But the truth is she was always acting like a boy by going fishing all the time. And her plan to woo Mr. Van was destroyed by him once again. She was so angry and kept in mind that she would get revenge on him back. When the fake guru was drinking beer with his friends, Sompoy threw one tray to the crowd that they enjoyed eating and drinking, and threatening him that if he still interrupted her while she was with Van again, she would definitely post the video of him on social media. Next morning, Sompoy drove her motorbike to meet Van and asked Van to drive her around the town to take some views. Van noticed that Sompoy was a funny girl and also a beautiful girl too. He asked Sompoy to be his photography model. After hearing this, Sompoy was so excited and felt it was like a dream that she always wished for. From that day onward, they always go somewhere together and have a lot of fun taking photos, while they are falling in love and having a sweet moment together. Out of the blue, Mrs. Koatok came here. With a soft and gentle voice and behaviors, she could bring Van to talk with her and walk away from Sompoy immediately. And she wooed Van and showed him some dancing styles to impress Van, so that he can take some photos, and asked Van whether she could become his photography model. Finally, she asked Sompoy whether she could go with Van for one whole day for the view of her town, only the couple of them. This made Sompoy so upset. Then Sompoy told her friend Vive about Van has been taken over from her by Koatok yesterday and leave her alone. Vive, after heard about this, she got an idea to put the spell of love inside the water by putting the hair of Van and the hair of Sompoy together in that water. He will fall in love to Sompoy. While talking about the way to curse love spelling, Sompoy suddenly remembered that Koatok has taken the hair of Van and tied her hair with him, and her friend was shocked cause what she did was all about putting the love spell on him already. Her friend told Sompoy to go to Koatok room to find the spelling girl doll under her pillow so that she can break the love spelling of Koatok that put on him. In order to make sure to break the spell, she needed one virgin man to help her along the way. And the virgin man that can ask for help is the magic guru. At night, Sompoy and the guru were sneaking into the bedroom of Koatok. While they were finding the doll in her bed, coincidentally, Koatok entered her room and both of them went to hide inside the clothing set. And staring at her from the shield of the wardrobe, Sompoy tried to find the location where she tried to hide the doll. In contrast, she found out that Koatok was getting the Hot Muscle Man book, sexy book full of hot big macule men photos. Instead, I was really shocked that the girl that everyone always admires, she was a very polite and good lady in a traditional way in the village, read that kind of book inside her room. Sompoy was taking videos of all the activities that Koatok was reading in that book, but during the time that she was taking video, there was a flashlight from her phone and made Koatok wonder what it was. She got closer to the wardrobe and both of them tried to scare her and ran out of this house. Unluckily, the video that they had recorded became a selfie photo of him and her in wardrobe instead of video of Koatok. It means the plan to reveal the truth of Koatok is not appropriate. Woman failed. She was so angry and kicked off one trash bin that was near her. And if the next time he cannot find the method to separate Koatok and Van, she will post the video of him instead. She threatened the guru again. And then Mr. Soman told all the story to his friends to find more ways to help him out. One of his friends raised the idea of putting aphrodisiacs to the water of Koatok's family for the upcoming event in order to maltreat them, and they decided to take action on this method. Later on, the event started and three of them has put the aphrodisiacs into the drinking water, which that water was not only drunk by Koatok, but everyone that participate in the event either, including Sompoy, was drinking that water, too. After Soman saw Sompoy had already drunk that water, he rushed to take her out from the event. And other people that have drunk the water started to stop dancing and started to convulse, twisting their body, because of the influence of the chemical that they put inside the drinking water. That destroyed the whole event. If we looked at Sompoy, she was showering herself with water to make herself become conscious and mitigate from that chemical that she drank. After she was better, she went to rest in her home. In the evening, Sab's aunt drove his father to Sab to take care of him by himself, because his father was an alcoholic and doing nothing. He even could not sit well because he was extremely drunk. One more thing, she also said she didn't have enough ability to support him anymore. Therefore, this time his dad gave him a son to take care of instead. Next, Sab drove Sompoy to her home and saw Van was standing in front of Sompoy's house waiting for Sompoy to come back home. This caused Sab to feel disappointed a bit and he drove back home alone. And Van dated Sompoy to go to take photos together again like the way they used to do for the next day. After telling her already, Van left her home. And Sompoy alone was feeling like a butterfly in her stomach and created a lot of lovely moments with Van for tomorrow. Then in the late evening, Sompoy visited Sab at his house and she showed off about her successful relationship between Van and her to him. During that time Sab was cooking one dish and got some to Sompoy to taste it. After she tasted it a bit, she said it was so delicious and tried to eat it more with sticky rice. And she started to think of beer. If she could drink beer with this food, it would make the flavor more delicious. Sab brought beers to drink with Sompoy and they drank a lot until they were really drunk. And Sab was feeling down and looking at the charming face of Sompoy with love since he already fell in love with her deeper. Until the morning, Sompoy and Van drove motor to take photos together happily until night. When Van brought Sompoy to her home already, he asked Sompoy to bring her to visit Bangkok city with him. And when Van has gone, Koatok suddenly walked to her and blaming her about the previous day that her family event was destroyed. After everyone got affected by the aphrodisiacs in the drinking water and she thought that it has been done by Sompoy. Even though, Sompoy tried to explain to her that she hasn't done anything with her drinking water, Koatok still didn't listen and believe it. Moreover, Koatok fights Sompoy in the purpose to savage her. Sompoy couldn't stand for what Koatok was hurting her physically like this. She fought against her. After Sompoy fought her just a bit, suddenly Van has come back to the place that they were fighting. Then Koatok told Van that Sompoy tried to harm her and put the bad chemical into her water. And Sompoy thought that Van would be hated her and driving back home alone with pain in her heart. However, she didn't go back to her home last night but she went to Sab's house instead. She was upset for the whole night, just sitting and getting no sleep. And in the morning, Sab has cooked porridge for her to eat as breakfast. And tried to make her feel better by bringing her to join in a village ceremony together. Then the villagers invited her to drink beer with them but she tried to deny it. Even though she has denied not drinking beer, at the end she drank a lot until everyone in the event could not drink with her anymore. Because she is really good at drinking. And she led everyone to dance like a mess in a funny movement. Then everyone started to faint including her as well. The next morning, Sab asked her about the reason that Sompoy decided to love Van. Sompoy told him that because Van was a man who was from Tep City. So, she always wishes that after marriage with Van, he will bring her to live in another city, because she was so bored to live in this village. After hearing that, Sab started to feel very disappointed. At that moment, Sompoy also realizes the feeling of love that Sab has for her. So, she kissed him. Then his cheeks were turning red. Later onward, Sab has driven Sompoy to her house. From the day that they have kissed, Sab always expects to see more light for this relationship between him and Sompoy. In the next morning, Sab was trying to cook many dishes. Hopefully Sompoy would enjoy eating it. After finished cooking all the dishes, he tried to drive her home in order to bring her food that he had cooked. Unfortunately, Van had come to Sompoy's home and confessed that he loved her. In addition, he also promised to bring her to live in Bangkok with him. At that moment, Sompoy hesitated. She was evaluating between choosing the two of them, whether Van or Sab. But in the end, she agreed to love Van and live with Van in Bangkok. And this had made Sab so upset, so he drove back home lonely and with the pain inside his heart that he could not speak it out. The next day, Sompoy's mother brought her to Sab's house as a guru's house in order to ask him whether Mr. Van, who was from Bangkok, was really the past live lover of Sompoy or not. The guru replied back instantly with a strong and clear voice that they are really the twin flame and they will live with each other happily if they can marry. After Sompoy heard these words from Sab, she started to cry because she was sorry that she had broken heart. Later on, Sompoy went to apologize Pomon, but at that time he was so disappointed and did not accept for her apologizing, which also caused her to cry by pain and leave from there. In the morning, she was preparing her clothes and things to get ready to leave from her hometown to Bangkok City with Van this morning. Finally, Sab decided to meet her last time and driving follow her car, but at that time Sompoy did not notice that Sab was driving behind her cause she was so upset and looking at the previous photos that they have taken together. With Sab Van was driving and suddenly realized that Sab was trying to follow her behind the car, he doesn't stop. In contrast, he was driving faster than before so Sab could not follow him and her along the way. But Sab didn't give up. He tried to gear up his motor to drive as fast as possible. Unfortunately, his motor was so old that it was broken along the way. And then one of his friends also tried to drive a motor to help him, but he got hit by another. Finally, another friend of Sab was driving a car containing many huge speakers on the way to help Sab, and Sab went on top of the car and spoke out loud to the microphone that he confessed that he loves Sompoy through those speakers in order to make her hear it. That voice was heard by Sompoy after she realized that Sab had confessed to her. Then, she got out of the car and ran back to Sab, and they met each other again. The love between them still continues to flourish and the story has ended here too. This movie is a very funny movie and I believed that for those who were watching the whole story will be having a lot of laughs and smiles. Hope everyone enjoys it and see you again in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.